Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Tom and Scott with
Hey.
BadCuzDad. We are finally live. We're working it out.
About to get some chatter in here because there's zero of it.
Yep. But man, thanks for joining us, guys. We're starting the new Star Wars podcast today. Going to talk about some Star Wars shows. Maybe the new Star Wars video game coming out, some stuff that we're interested in. Right now, our plan is to go live on Monday mornings. That's just a good time for us. We're throwing around some names for the show. Right now, we're thinking about Amorphous Jedi. You know, there's been a lot of speculation in the community about what that means by pretty much no one. I think it may be a dad bod joke. So,
it is. That was supposed to be the name of our channel initially, and then we just went with BadCuzDad because I was getting mad because I was bad.
So that's what we're gonna do today. But Scott, man, what's going on? What have you been up to? You been watching any Star Wars shows? Other shows other than Star Wars this week?
Oh man, I'm just glad we got that technical issue sort of sorted out right now. As far as shows though, man, I really haven't been watching too much. Obviously, I'm keeping up with the Bad Batch.
Just Bad Batch, yeah.
I kept up with Andor, and I've actually just obviously not related, but been watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine with the wife because that show's hilarious, and I hadn't watched it before.
Nice. Yeah, I've actually been obviously Bad Batch, but I actually just recently got the wife to watch Andor, and she's watched all the Star Wars stuff, but she's not a huge Star Wars fan,
Right?
And she loves the show. So
it's a good show. It definitely speaks to other audiences, non-Star Wars, because it's a good drama. There's a lot of suspense, and the acting's spectacular in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like a spy thriller almost, which is super cool. And so you're right. I think what they did with Andor was they made a show that's going to appeal to, people who aren't traditional Star Wars fans. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people like stories that are not Force related sometimes, and so yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And then obviously Bad Batch, which we're going to get into today. Yeah. So
I have we spoke about it yesterday. I think I have kind of an idea for just a video that I want to do on Andor alone, and just how it affects the future of Star Wars going forward as a template for making great shows. So that's something for another day, but
that's true. That's like a whole other show. And thanks to everybody for showing up, man. We appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, and
peanut butter and jetty.
I like this kind of sums it up best.
What is that? I don't even know what that is. Tom, explain to my naive mind.
If I have to explain. So,
I agree,
anyway, man. So let's get into. I guess just get into Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Man, what was your first impressions? I'm obviously I know you watched season 1. You got into it. What do you think of the start of season 2?
So I gotta say, when Bad Batch first came out, I was kind of on the fence about it. I didn't think I'd be that excited, just in general. But I did like their appearance on the Clone Wars show, but I wasn't sure if it warranted them getting their own spin-off series. And I quickly grew to like it. I think the characters are compelling. It's just, again, it's different from a lot of Star Wars we've seen before. And I am and still am excited for season 2. I think it started off well. Not a whole lot happened, but it's definitely in that building stage of expanding on the story. So I think it's well done. It's in the style of the Clone Wars. So I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, I think that's why I like it too, because of the similar Clone Wars style. Right. I for years, I didn't watch Clone Wars until way later because I was like the person who was like, I'm not watching a cartoon, you know what I mean, kind of a thing. But once I got into it, obviously, like Ahsoka is my all-time favorite Star Wars character. So I don't know. So that really got me into that style. And then Bad Batch, like you said, kind of grew on me season 1. And I'm just really interested to see what, Omega's storyline is going to be, because I feel like it's just way more to her character than what we know right now.
Yeah.
Which I think is why, the show is so interesting. And so that's got me super excited. But I guess speaking of Omega, one thing I noticed about the show, which was really cool, it seems like they're really trying to showcase her progression as a character. Did you notice that when you were watching the first episode?
Yeah, I think that's what the show started off with. It already showed her looking a little more mature, maybe slightly more battle hardened. She was clearly studying some starships, and it seems as though she's kind of just growing as a character. They're already laying the groundwork for that. They all are. All the characters are growing, but we're seeing a difference. She's not just like, she's part of the crew now, trying to earn her spot, so to speak. She's not just a liability. She's not just a scared child anymore. She's starting to keep following her in future content as well, because it'd be interesting to see where she ends up. She's just a kid right now. And, Star Wars has always been about that progression of the younger characters growing, especially with Anakin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got throw up the background image of her showing her bow, like,
bow skills,
going at the crabs and stuff. Yeah, so you're right. It kind of is showcasing her, like, combat skills for sure. And, studying the ships and stuff. And I just think it's, I don't want to like be negative or anything. I just think it's interesting that they're taking the time to showcase her progression like they didn't do with some recent films with characters.
I have no idea what you're speaking about.
You know what I mean? So I am
Ray.
I think it's just,
we're not going to make the stream about knocking on these characters. We're just going to leave it alone for now.
No, yeah. Well, there's a reason why we're talking about Bad Batch and Ahsoka. So
yeah,
really deep characters there.
Yes,
a lot of progression. So, but anyway, yes. So I thought that was really cool how they are showcasing that. And then the next thing that took me to the show that they've kind of had a reoccurring theme is kind of like Echo's warning. He keeps, his warning to the other members of the group is, he's trying to tell them what the Empire is capable of, but it doesn't seem like they're fully comprehending, the magnitude of what the Empire is going to do and what the progression is going to be.
Yeah.
And he kind of really goes in on tech a little bit. And I don't know, did you catch when you were watching that part?
Yeah, I think Echo and Tech are very analytical. It was Echo that was captured at a point by the Separatists that they were using for strategy. Remember, he was hooked up to all that basically mainframe of a computer that one of the clones kind of recognized as his strategic approach, and that's how they have found Echo in the first place. But I think Echo, after being with the Separatists for so long, he sees what the Empire is morphing into, and he knows that this overarching foe is a lot scarier than I think they even imagined, and that their reach is throughout the entire galaxy. And that when Hunter says he just wants Omega to go have a good life and be safe, I think Echo is cognizant that this isn't a possibility. They have their fingers everywhere. Their hand is just at play almost everywhere, and there is no escaping. And that rebelling, fighting, figuring out a way to resist is kind of their only logical option.
Yeah, you're right. He really went in on Tech a little bit, and I think, like you're saying, Tech is very analytical, and so he's just trying to think of ways to keep them
Mm.
safe and out of the way of the Empire and on the fringes. And Echo's like, there's not going to be a place to hide after a while.
Yeah.
And, he's like, we are specifically trained and have abilities that can make a difference, in this battle if we so choose. And so
Yes.
you kind of see when in the episode when is it when they meet Romar, right?
Yes.
They Romar kind of pulls at his emotional side when he starts going in on like the history of his people and how it's been wiped out, and he's trying to preserve it with the data cube. And so you can see the wheels kind of start spinning in Tech's head, like, hey, maybe we do need to get involved, or maybe, there's more to this. There's like real people that are being affected by the Empire. And I thought that was cool progression for Tech as a character too.
Yeah, there's just, I think when we watch this kind of show, especially in a cartoon, we kind of just, myself included, we just watch it for the eye candy, the visuals, the action. And what I missed the first watch through on these first two episodes is that there's a lot more things happening that are very deep. Like, we're seeing these character developments very subtly. We're seeing kind of this spark of the rebellion in certain areas of the galaxy start to take shape, and as we'll see as time goes on, that begins to grow. There's the rebellion is a culmination of many fronts and groups that are trying to challenge the Empire. So I think it's important going forward in the Bad Batch to kind of watch the small nuances and the little subtle things that they're showing us in character development and pieces of leading up to the point of the original films.
Yeah, I think to your point about the rebellion kind of taking shape, not just like Romar, like taking a stand against the Empire, but even back to Andor. I think we talked about this a little bit, maybe a couple days ago about Luthen on Andor. Like, he's trying to do all he can to get this spark going, and he kind of sees it, when he's on Ferrix and he sees Marva's speech and all that happening. He's kind of seeing it unfold right in front of his eyes, like people starting to be affected by what happened on Aldhani and all the things that he's trying to orchestrate to, get the rebellion off the ground. And so, I don't know, man. I think that was just some cool progression from Echo and, Tech and Romar. Romar is just such a cool character they added in there. And so
Subtle
super
but
well
effective.
done. Yeah, super well done.
I gotta give a shout out to Joe
it.
here, Hybrid Athletics, my old neighbor. Good guy. He's going on a business trip, but thanks for tuning in, man.
Oh, there we go, man. Hey, thanks for joining us.
And you need to up your
safe,
weight
bro.
in your deads. You're looking kind of weak there, so get up your numbers, bro.
All right, man. So who's next? I think I had made some notes about Hunter. I guess the stuff that stood out with me to Hunter is he's kind of taken on that parenting role for Omega. And so this is like the first episode where she like wants to go out and kind of go on her own, and she's trying to recover the treasure, you know what I mean, and do things. And his mind is like, hey, I need to keep her safe, as like most parents think, you know what I mean? We got to keep our kids safe. And sometimes you are preventing them from doing things that can help them grow, or just they need to make mistakes on their own sometime. And so, when they go back to Sid's, he's talking about, hey, I need to keep her out of trouble. And the rest of them are like, no, we need to go get this war chest. And so I can see a dilemma in his head of, do I keep her on the fringes, but also we need to get involved in this thing. But what should I do here? I don't know.
Kino, what was the fate of Kino? Honestly, we don't know at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Andy Serkis is just a spectacular actor. One of my favorites. I mean, Smeagol, Gollum. He was what was his name? Caesar in Planet of the Apes. He was also Snoke in the new films. Great actor, great motion capture, great voice. He was Claw in the Marvel films. So I hope he's still around, because why wouldn't we want more Andy Serkis? He made those prison scenes just so palpable and captivating that, man, yeah, I hope he's still around. But the answer, short, well, that was a long answer. But to answer your question, we don't know.
All I know is with one single line, he brought like more emotion than like any of the, sequel trilogy. Like just saying I can't swim, I was like, dude, that like hits. He's
all
such
of
a
that
good.
just, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, his presence on screen is just so like captivating. You're drawn into it no matter what role he's playing.
Yeah, if they were to take him out, well, I mean, obviously there's factors. If he just can't commit to doing more stuff, then you understand that. But it'd be like a Darth Maul Part 2. Like, don't kill him off right away. Like,
or super major subverting expectations. He's actually Snoke right there, and the fall makes him all disfigured, and he goes, "You heard it here first, folks.
no,
Kino is Snoke, confirmed."
Like IRL. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, but no, he's an awesome character. But it's cool because it all ties into the rebellion. All these shows are kind of merging together. You know what I mean? Because of course I would love Kino to become like a big figure, within the rebellion. Like Cassian does. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like that would be super cool.
Yeah. But we digress, and to kind of circle back to your Hunter point, like Star Wars is clearly about the mentor and mentee dynamic.
Yeah, family for sure.
And we have Obi-Wan and Luke, Obi-Wan and Anakin, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like, and now we have in a different realm Hunter and Omega, and I think he was kind of thrust into that role. He didn't really want it, but he welcomed it, and he's trying to do his best. So it'll be nice to see how their relationship progresses, and if he's able to guide her, or hold on too tight, or not be able to let go. Who knows? But I do like their dynamic, and I think believe is it D. Bradley Baker that's doing all the clone voices still? Like, I think it is him. So. Just shout out to him for playing 5 characters and just doing it's an awesome job. Although I'm not sure if he is Wrecker or Crosshair. They sound a little different. They don't sound like the general, but I don't know for sure.
You know what? The Omega thing is so interesting because she is a clone, but she's like a kid. So you're like, what is her capacity? Like, what is her... Because sometimes she seems like really like a little kid, and other times she seems like way more advanced. You know what I mean? In certain areas.
She's like Boba, essentially.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I take that back. She's not. Boba was an unaltered clone. She was an experimental one. So, but she's only like Boba in the sense that they don't age rapidly.
So you think she's going to stay a kid like a lot longer?
Yeah.
Or no?
I think she has a normal lifespan, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. The next thing I was looking at is they introduced, I think it's the first time I've seen him, was Wilco, the Clone Force captain. I mean, I thought he was super interesting. He was like, as far as, Clone Force 99, they've never really met their match, but Wilco was like, hit for hit, like right there with him, all his tactics, like he was really almost on the level kind of a deal, which was cool.
And Hunter is supposed to be like the lead strategist of the Bad Batch, and he was always on his tail the whole time. Yeah, and
obviously, the big scene is when Wilco and Rampart are talking, towards the end of the episode about He's trying to tell Rampart, hey, I've seen Clone Force 99 is here, and Rampart's like, no, there's no way they're here. They, died on Camino or whatever. And you kind of finally see this conflict with the Empire and the clones that hasn't really been shown yet, because kind of the way the clones since Order 66 have been kind of shown in Star Wars media is like they obey every order. Like they're all the way Empire kind of a thing. So I don't know. What was your take when they kind of threw that in? Where did your mind take the next step, or what were your thoughts on it, on what's going to happen?
I like where they're going with the clones, because their sole purpose was to prolong the war against the Separatists for Palpatine's plans. And then their final purpose was to essentially be the executors of the Jedi. So Order 66, the implant, was for them to turn on the Jedi no matter what, no matter the relationships, whatever. That was what they were created for. And I think what we're going to see here is that Palpatine vastly underestimated the clones and their capabilities. He thought that once the Jedi were out of his way, that he would kind of have just free reign to do what he wanted. So now we're going to start to see this weird dynamic that what the clones are going to start. We've seen in media, they are self-reflecting. They are thinking agents. It's just the chip that really forced them to do what they did to the Jedi. But now we're going to see a point to where they're trying to find their place in all this now. They realize that the Camino was destroyed. And I'm sure they're starting to get a sense that they're just expendable and that their future for the Empire is to essentially be phased out. And I think somebody like Wilco started to kind of notice that and realize that their capabilities, whatever their purpose was completely expendable. And obviously the Imperial officer ended up executing him on the spot for disobeying. But we just don't know where they're going to fall into the story going forward. And I think that's something we're going to see too.
So let me ask you this. Maybe you know more about this than me. So I guess in previous lore, what was the reason for going to stormtroopers versus clones? Just because they couldn't make any more clones, or was previously what was just like the thought process of why they went to stormtroopers?
Cost effectiveness. It was too expensive to keep the clone facility going, and I think they knew they could get more numbers by forcibly conscripting people, so to speak. So they just built a bigger, better army with. Obviously, we see that stormtroopers aren't as effective as clones. They're not that great of soldiers. They can't hit anything, obviously. So
that's when they started missing every shot.
I think it was it was this point where the Empire just wanted to overwhelm every planet. And even though the individual stormtroopers weren't that great, they had the numbers. And I think that's kind of where they were going. And of course, once they stopped cloning them, because of their advanced aging, the clones just started dying off sooner, because they were never meant to really survive for a long time. They were a short-term solution.
They were expendable.
Yes.
And as we've seen what Bad Batch is doing, they're trying to fill in some of those gaps, because now there's obviously no more Camino. So, I mean, they've kind of shut the door on that. And I'm wondering if, like you're saying, with Palpatine not realizing that the clones have the potential to turn, maybe that's why stormtroopers also, maybe he's realizing, are the better option. It's like a contingency, to make sure the clones. But you're right. I think beforehand, I always thought like the clones were just like the inhibitor chip made them kind of like servants to the Empire. But the way they're kind of spinning it here is that it's not really the case.
No, it was only for the Jedi, to exterminate the Jedi.
Right. So yeah, that's what kind of I'm realizing now, is that the inhibitor chip just turns them on the Jedi. So now that the Jedi are technically out of the picture, they're starting to get some orders that either harm their brothers, like other clones, or that just aren't in the best interest of the clones. And so Wilco is like really having an internal struggle
Yes.
you know, on what to do. Not just that, but just like his morals. Like, I'm not going to lie on this report, right? Like, I have a duty to be a captain and to report what I'm seeing because that's best for my men, even though you're trying to get me to do something else. And so, I don't know. I think that is going to be really interesting to see what they do with the clones going forward. And I think Wilco's just the first kind of domino.
Yeah.
I don't
Which
know.
which kind of really brings us to Crosshair now, because he's the wild card. And he's a prime example of the kind of difficult place that the clones are finding themselves in. He's dedicated to being a good soldier. He fully wanted to fulfill Order 66, but now he's also realizing that they're expendable, and he's having a hard time processing his duty versus where his own individual place and his brothers, the Bad Batch, like what is their future. And that's why I think he's a dynamic character going forward, especially. And he wasn't even in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, and obviously they left him, you know, for dead on Camino, right? So
Yeah.
does he feel a certain kind of way? You know, now that he knows Rampart. I don't know. You had an interesting theory on him and Rampart's dynamic. What were, you know, in our breakdown video? What were your thoughts on that?
I think they're both playing each other. They're trying. There's deception going on. I think what I gathered is that either Crosshair wants to stay in the Empire and work from within to help them, to help the Bad Batch,
Okay.
or he's gonna jump ship completely and join up with them later on, because he clearly lied to Rampart that they died there when he knew they didn't. So either he's lying and Rampart knows it, or Rampart just figured it out at this facility, and that's why he didn't want to, or that's why he didn't want Wilco to report on it.
Right. Well, obviously, you know, Rampart is super scared of Tarkin, you know, so part of it too is he doesn't want to know that he's failed. Because that would probably be the end of him. So you're right. You know, just get into the stuff moving forward. You know, obviously what happens with Crosshair is going to be super interesting. Moving forward, is he going to come back into the fold, or is he going to remain on the fringes? So I'm not really sure, but I know that's going to be something to watch. And then, of course, Omega's continued progression. What is,
Omega.
Yeah, whatever. There's something more to her that we don't know yet. You know, whether, I mean, I don't want to say she's force sensitive or something. I don't know. Maybe she is.
I want to say
you think
that.
so? You want
so.
to? Okay.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing. A force sensitive clone, that would be nuts.
More like along the lines of Chirrut from Rogue One. Not a full-fledged Jedi, but in the realm. Able to kind of use it.
So she's in with the Force. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Force
Okay.
is with her.
That would be cool. There's some kind of mystery that they're not saying.
And we've never really
She's
explored
special,
force
obviously.
sensitivity before. That's not something that any media has looked at, aside from Chirrut. Like that was
like the spectrum of force sensitivity.
Yeah. Like clearly he was, but he wasn't a full-fledged Jedi, and it's almost like you have untapped potential. And I think, or Omega, they find a Jedi in hiding and they start to teach her. So I don't know.
Okay. All right, man. I don't even know. Last thing I'll probably say is before we move on to Ahsoka is what is the point of Wrecker? He's kind of like being lost in the shuffle. Is he just like the comedic relief at this point because there's no droid, so he has to be the droid? You know?
I never thought of that. You're R2.
Yeah, he's BB-8 or I don't know.
I think Filoni's got something up his sleeve.
You think so?
Wrecker seems shallow and not a lot there. He's just kind of that bull in a china shop, but there's going to be some depth there, maybe some self-sacrifice, maybe something. But I like the character. I think he's cool.
So you think he's gonna like his arc will be he dies to save the crew or something like that? Maybe.
I think something like that will happen. Yeah.
That would be crazy to have that in an animated. Obviously, we know Star Wars is full of self-sacrifice. That's like it's a huge key part of the Star Wars franchise. But I guess we saw it in Rogue. I don't want to. I mean, people have seen everything. But anyway, spoiler. But it's happened, I guess, in one other animated, so it could happen here. It would definitely be like a crazy, memorable moment. That would make the series great if they do it right. So all right, man, that's all I got on that. Let's switch over to the Ahsoka series and see what we got. I'll let you take it away. I know you've been keeping up with this a little closer than me. That I haven't been. I'm obviously really excited.
Well, I think first it's pertinent to talk about some of the leaks we've seen just in casting. So, as we know, Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka. We know that they also cast names escaping me right now, but I think it was the young lady who was one of the Valerians. I think it was Lady Valerian in the newest.
Oh yeah, for like young Ahsoka kind of a thing.
Yeah. They cast her as a young version of Ahsoka. We got Ewan McGregor's wife, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, as Hera. We know that's confirmed.
Let me pull it up.
Yep, there she is. We have, I'm blanking on these names now, but we do have a casting for Ezra. We have Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn. So there's some good stuff. Oh, there it is.
Here's a list right here.
You're Iman Esfandi.
Yeah.
And we know Hayden Christensen's coming back, which is awesome.
Yeah, they're going crazy with Ahsoka right now. Like I am. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what. I think I'm excited because I think they chose the right, not time frame, but the right way to frame it. By it seems like it's going to be very Rebels inspired, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of Rebels characters. The thing we don't know though is where exactly this is going to kick off, timeline wise. We saw her in Mandalorian season 2, and we saw her in Boba Fett. So we know that Ahsoka did survive post Return of the Jedi. She's there with Luke as he's building his new temple. She's there with him, which is about 5 years after. So we know she's still alive. She survived that. We just don't know where this show is going to take off. But there
is another.
Exactly. Yeah, that line. I think the big variable here is the world between worlds that a lot of people might not be familiar with because not everybody watched the animated series, especially Rebels. Like that was kind of one of the dark horses of this. And the world between worlds, just to give a quick synopsis, it hasn't been fully explained, so I don't think anybody truly knows what it is. So we're only speculating here, but it is some type of realm that seems to be traversable. Like Ahsoka has been there, Ezra has been there. It's like almost if you've seen The Matrix, where they were in the hallway that had doors that led to other places in the Matrix. It's the best analogy I can give. It's basically a realm that has doorways to other either realities, possibilities, maybe another universe. I don't know. We don't know. But clearly, this is going to be at the center point of this show that either shows Ahsoka different timelines, different possibilities that never came to pass, or she has direct influence in this realm and can actually change possible realities or futures. So I have, which I've talked to Tom about and a couple other friends, I have this super huge overarching theory of where this is going to lead the future of Star Wars. And I don't know if I should cover that right now. That would put us in
do it
a 3. Yeah, you want to?
I would just the synopsis. The quick down and dirty of what you think the implication might be, because you could be onto something.
So, and this people are gonna hate me, man, if anybody watches this. And so, by no means, am I trying to, I guess, reduce the impact and perfection that is the original trilogy. But what I think is going to happen is that this Ahsoka show is going to somehow alter the course of the future, and it's going to lead up to a remake of the OT. I think Andor was a trial run because of that's the tone, the writing, the direction that the OT remake would take. And I think it's going to set up into somehow Palpatine is no, not that. It's it's going to lead up to a remake that will then bleed into the sequels and possibly change those as well. That way, the sequels can remain canon for people who did enjoy them. I haven't met anybody yet who did enjoy them, but I think to keep that canon, to keep the characters canon, that will be one of the possibilities that happen from the world between worlds. But somehow Ahsoka will influence it or change it, that will lead to a different future, similar to the Star Wars we know, but also different in many regards. Because if we know Ahsoka's alive, it's like, where was she during the entire original trilogy? Obviously, she wasn't there because she wasn't made yet, and we're going back 50 years now. But for the OT to hold up, as this new media comes out, the OT gets weaker and weaker from a storytelling perspective. So I think it's inevitable, and I think that if it's done correctly in the way that Andor was, and it has Filoni and Favreau at the helm, and uses Hayden and Ewan, clearly we see that worked, and I'd be on board if it was handled correctly. Which, if Ahsoka turns out well, and if Andor continues to be great, I think it's a high possibility and a high probability. So there you go. There's my hot take. I know I'm gonna get burned for some of that, but hey.
Yeah, by me starting now. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. This all has to do with the world between worlds. So let me I don't know exactly what I want it to be, but I know what I don't want it to be. So I'll start there.
Okay.
I don't want it to be a realm to infinite timelines. Like, I don't want that to be a thing. Yeah. I want it to be a realm where there's a limited amount of possibilities based on a few decisions that could be made. Maybe like Ahsoka doesn't leave the Jedi Order. Like, there's one timeline that you could do. Or Anakin obviously makes different decisions, that leads to him not falling. Or, a few really interesting things that we all already think about, and people, post, fan fiction about, hey, what if Anakin never left? Or what if this happened? But I don't want it to where Ahsoka could do anything. You know what I mean?
I think that's they've kind of put those in brackets, that Ahsoka will face off against Anakin on Mustafar instead of Obi-Wan in one.
Right.
And I think the whole point of this first season is her learning that Anakin's fall was inevitable. There's nothing anybody could have done to stop it. But what can she do to sort of alter it in a way? And maybe, another speculation here, that the OT is a product of Ahsoka tampering with it, the original OT. Like, they could go that way and say that this is a product, or vice versa. Now her tampering with it is now this new remake. So I don't know which way they're going to go, but I have a lot of confidence in Filoni to bring the pieces together and even explain the world between worlds to some degree. Or maybe he'll leave it kind of in the dark, and I don't know. Well, but I like Filoni. Dude's the man.
Well, hopefully he takes charge, him and Favreau, moving forward. Yeah. But the OT, I am in favor of keeping it as is. I'm not as, I think it's a masterpiece. So, I mean, obviously there's things that, some plot holes and stuff. But I think just to keep things coherent, you need to follow it. So unless they're going to do it and like change a bunch of stuff, I like the OT. Now, if they can somehow redo the sequels, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If that can be done, if they can, go back on the world between worlds and change some of the implications. But I'm really interested in this Anakin Ahsoka showdown on Mustafar, if that's what's going to happen, because we've already seen them face off in Rebels.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this going to be a kind of like a remake? I'm like, what could be different about?
I think it'll be
altercation.
I think it will be like more of a vision, like the portals in the world between worlds, how they could see through them.
Okay,
I think it'll be more like Ahsoka watching that reality if it had happened. It won't actually be her in it, or I mean, who knows? That's my speculation, because it's already been said and alluded that matchup is taking place.
Well, it's interesting in the Rebels one where Ezra and Ahsoka are there watching Kanan. Yeah. And Ezra's like, I have to do something. And Ahsoka's like, you really can't do this. This was his decision. Mm-hmm. I wonder if she's going to see something similar and choose not to act. And maybe she's going to fall to Anakin where Obi-Wan didn't, or something is going to happen that she could change something that would save him maybe in that moment, even though long term, like you said, it's probably inevitable. Yeah. And she's like having to fight that dilemma of like, I can do something to save him. I don't know. This is wild speculation at this point.
Yeah, because it can go any way. We just know that this is taking place. What are the consequences of it? I don't know. But clearly we saw Ezra in Rebels actually pull Ahsoka out where Vader would have killed her.
At least that's what we think would happen.
The implications of that. Like, did he royally screw with something? We don't know. And that's kind of the other wild card in Ahsoka is Ezra, where he's been gone with Thrawn. What is he going to be like? Is he the new? Because now Thrawn's kind of the guy. He's the guy in the Empire. Palpatine and Vader are gone. He's the guy. Ezra's like the only dark side force user that he knows. Did he become like, we don't know. We don't know where Ezra is or who he is now.
Like if he's went to the dark side, if what is going on with him?
Is he Thrawn's enforcer now?
Right, like Vader or Palpatine in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So I do hope they explore that, and I think they are, because obviously Sabine has been cast. And I think that's going to be. I hope they really nail the Sabine Ahsoka duo, like they become the next kind of dynamic duo, like in the Star Wars.
Rosario is great. I love her. I just think she's fantastic in anything she's ever been in, especially Zombieland too. I know it's a silly movie, but I like her in it. Like she's in Daredevil.
Daredevil was
she was in that movie with Will Smith. Like she's great.
Clerks too.
That's right. I think she's gonna kill it, and I agree with you. I hope that dynamic is good. But I mean, I trust Filoni on his casting 100%. So I have a lot of optimism.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of all I have on Ahsoka stuff. I mean, that's obviously what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that has me more excited. She's just my favorite character. Not
only for her, but what it means for Star Wars going forward. Like this is a pivotal piece moving forward.
For sure. All right, well, let's switch gears and let's get into the Ubisoft game. Give me a second. I'll pull up some stuff on that.
Yeah. Going off, right?
All right, there we go. So the Ubisoft game, there's been a few leaks recently. I know, our other channel, BadCuzDad, the main channel, we started as a gaming channel. And so this is probably more where we would cover this kind of stuff. But since it's, Star Wars related, we really wanted to touch on it here and, do some, just let you guys know about the other channel too, where we talk tons of Star Wars game content, and other games as well.
Essentially, just quickly, the reason we did this is because we both love Star Wars. We met in SWTOR over 10 years ago and has been friends since. because and our mutual love of Star Wars has really been the crux of many of our late night conversations and just having fun sharing in our passion for it. So we made this because we figured it'd be better to put all the Star Wars content on one channel here and just kind of have free reign to talk about it. So
yeah, because we talk about
Yeah.
a range of games on the other channel, so we know not everyone there is a Star Wars fan necessarily, and so here we'll have the freedom to just do all stuff Star Wars. But this game, I know you are super excited about it because you love like the single player open world style games, whereas me, I'm more of a multiplayer. I love MMOs. That's definitely my favorite. And so that's kind of what I am looking forward to.
I don't think you've had the right game to pull you in yet as far as a single player RPG goes.
You know, I don't know if that's true. I played Skyrim. I was like huge, thousands of hours in Skyrim. And so I really loved that, but that was before I ever played an MMO. I think once I played an MMO, I was like, this is the culmination of like everything that I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm playing with other people. I get PvP. I get story. I get character progression. And so I think that's why I've stuck to the MMO so much.
That's definitely the appeal of them. It's just the downside is the time investment, especially.
Yeah, but I kind of treat it like a single player in a way where I'm just like, the time I put in is just what I would do in a single player. But I understand what you're saying for sure. Yeah. Now, what I hope happens with this game is that there's a co-op element maybe, because that would be cool to me to jump in with you and play if that's possible. If it's just me by myself, I don't know if I would be kind of like the Hogwarts game that I know you're super excited about. If that had a co-op, I think I would be down to try it.
Yeah.
Not that I won't, at some point, but
yeah. Well, I mean, they say here that it's going to be similar gameplay to No Man's Sky as far as first and foremost of the free, smooth movement throughout the galaxy. In No Man's Sky, the universe, but here the galaxy to be able to just kind of no loading screen, just pick up your ship and fly where you need to go. Like, how cool is that? That alone is so intriguing and just makes me want to play. I mean, come on, how many Star Wars fans have just wanted to get in a spaceship and just fly around the galaxy freely? Like, how sweet is that? So that alone, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Already.
I think even in like Star Wars Old Republic when we played, we were hoping like, oh, we're going to be able to get in our ship and actually fly to planets, which didn't actually turn out that way. But yeah, I'll just read what it has to say about it. It says, in the game, players will be able to jump between systems like No Man's Sky, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy, bursting at the seams with activities. At the heart of the game sits an in-depth lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks the path chosen by the gamer. So I'm assuming that means you can choose a path like with the Force, or maybe you're not a Force user. I'm hoping they have that kind of open-ended character path and progression.
Yeah, like what if I just want to be a cantina flutist?
Flautist?
What flout? Is it flautist? Now I'm hungry.
Give me some queso.
Yeah, like what if I just want to... You gotta stop with the queso, man.
No, you're right. If you could just choose your everyday profession, if that's what you want to do in the world, like on a planet that people can visit, or you want to be a Jedi, or you want to...
Smuggler?
Anything, that would be super cool. So it sounds like this game is going to be about the exploration and about the RPG elements. Here's my concern with this game. It's obviously made by Ubisoft, which has a up and down track record with monetization and with, I don't know, they tried to go heavy into NFTs recently and stuff. And so, for example, what I loved about them, the original Assassin's Creed was one of my favorite all-time series, like the first couple ones. Yeah. But when they started getting to the later ones, like the last one, which one? The last two, I think. There's like a Viking
Valhalla
one, right?
And
the one in Greece, right? The Greek mythology one, Odyssey. He's really the one where I noticed, like, okay, I feel like if I don't spend money, I'm being hamstrung a little bit. Like, I feel like they made the progression slower in a way. And so that kind of turned me off. So I hope this is more like a Streak on Wildlands-ish, just like an open world sandbox to do what you... Honestly, more in-depth, but you can drop in with friends. Because I think No Man's Sky is now you can play with friends too, right?
Yeah, you can drop in.
So
I agree with you
on
a game of that magnitude. A setup like Wildlands would probably be the most logical, because I don't know how they would. I'm sure they could put an overarching story, but man, a game of that size and magnitude, just how it would flow is I can't really fathom it myself right now. We're still years away on this game.
Yeah.
So it's
you think
nothing,
so? You think we're far?
Yeah, I think we're probably at least at minimum 3 years away.
Okay. Yeah. But I guess that's okay because in the meantime we have Die Survivor coming out. When is that one set to launch?
March 10th, I believe.
March 10th. What's your hype level as far as that one goes? That you're like definitely playing that, right?
Oh yeah, the first one was fantastic. Great game. I would have liked to seen more story, more exploration in it, maybe a little other nuances, but the game is great. Like that was their first attempt at it, like a Dark Souls-ish type combat system, and I think the story was just phenomenal. I think the gameplay was engaging, and it looks like they expanded quite a bit on that. So yeah, I'm all in for Survivor, and I'd like to see.
And that's EA. EA's making that one, right? Correct.
Yeah, and the developer is. It starts with an R. It's the same one that made Titanfall and Apex.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. I would know it, but you wouldn't have said it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. So I obviously haven't played Fallen Order just because I've been, I'm so immersed in Star Wars: Old Republic. But yeah, man, we're gonna be covering that heavy. I think you might even do like some streams, let's plays on the other channel.
I'm for Survivor. Streaming that and Hogwarts.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be fun to do, and I've never really streamed before, so I'd enjoy it.
And you have lots of games lined up, so that's good for you.
Yeah.
As far as single player or maybe co-op stuff moving forward, I'm not sure, but we'll see how they turn out.
Yeah. But it was cool to get some leaks on this. Like I'm hyped for this. I think we've all wanted an open world Star Wars game since Knights of the Old Republic that's truly open world, like on the level of Starfield, No Man's Sky, and just finally lets you feel like you're living in the Star Wars universe. Like, yeah, way to tease it and make us wait this amount of time.
But I think the good thing that we're seeing with Star Wars media, not just shows, but games as well, is there's a lot in the pipeline, right, that we as Star Wars fans should be excited for. And so I'm pretty pumped moving forward. I really, really hope they do a new Star Wars MMO. I think there's been some stuff teased, like maybe this game called Star Wars Eclipse further down the line. That we don't have a ton of information right now.
That was slated for 2028.
Like it's a while. They had I'm blanking on. There was another Star Wars game that was possibly in the mix, but either way, my point is, I think we should be excited about Star Wars games, especially now that EA doesn't have the exclusive license. For Star Wars.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got a tactical type game with the Bad Batch too, or surrounding some type of Republic troopers or clones,
or some kind of crossover with like a Battlefront 3 or something with Bad Batch. I don't know.
It's going to start happening a lot, I have a feeling.
Yeah. Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another MMO in the works too.
Hope so. I'm all in on that. That or a Guild Wars 3. I know that's not Star Wars related, but I am, I'm up for all stuff. So,
Yeah.
man, it was cool today. I liked
Oof,
our
first one down. That went
yeah. I
better
think
than
we
I
had a
thought.
lot of technical difficulties that we have to iron out still, but thank you guys, everyone who tuned in today, man. We're gonna keep putting these out. Like
And thanks
Scott
who
said, we're
sees this
passionate
in the
about it.
future.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have it up on the channel. And man, leave a comment. Let you know what you guys think. Let us know what you think about Bad Batch. If you have any Ahsoka speculation or insight, man, we'd love to talk about that with you guys. And yeah, man, that was it.
I love that background.
Yeah, dude. I just did that in paint. I'm like a crazy artist. If you can't tell. Like the beards I added.
Yeah. Santa beards, they have to be white.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, thanks
guys.
for tuning in.
Yep, totally, man. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one, hopefully next Monday. Peace,
we're
man.
gonna try to do this weekly, and look for the Bad Batch episode 3 breakdown coming in on Wednesday too.
Yep. All right, man. We'll see.